Mr. Bashir, sir, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with Bloomberg Television. Of course, we're outside the OPEC seminar. It's been going on for a couple of days. I want to start off by asking you about the OPEC Plus Group 8 decision to bring back extra barrels to the market over the weekend, a faster pace of putting back these barrels. Do you think that the timing was right to do this? Can the market handle it?
Yes. Yes, I think, the geopolitics for oil and gas, which you know very well, requires a balance. And the OPEC and the OPEC Plus is all around striking that balance. The details and the deep knowledge around the market, balancing supply availability with price, and that's what this is all about. So it's all in a broader interest of both consumers but also suppliers as well. So I think it was the right thing to do.
One of the impressions that I've got from the seminar the last 2 days is quite a lot of bullishness, not only about short-term demand, but also long-term demand as well, with the World Oil Outlook that was released an hour ago. Yeah. Do you share that optimism? Specifically, now I'm talking about short-term demand.
Yes, I do share the optimism. You know the way this goes. Typically, most people didn't predict what happened with respect to Iran in recent times, right? So a lot of factors comes into these demands. There are upsides, there are downsides. So basically, I think this optimism is realistic. I think the other thing we need to keep in mind is that over the last several years, there was a lot of drive towards energy transition. Quite a number of activities were delayed. A lot of investment were also delayed. Now, those investments are coming back up. Everybody is becoming clear that we need a balance in terms of the supply of energies. The overall progress with respect to the renewables have been a little bit slower than we all expected, and yet the demand for energy remains. So that lag is what you see is coming back in terms of recovery. That's my view.
What about in Nigeria? Can we expect production to keep going up in the coming years?
Very good one. The first thing, Nigeria is a member of OPEC, as you know. So our expectation is that whatever we do in Nigeria, we still remain connected with OPEC. But in terms of our production growth plans, we expect to build capacity to about 2 million barrels per day by 2027, and also build our gas from about 7 billion cubic feet per day to about 10 billion cubic feet per day by 2027, and then grow from that as well. So that growth is started. If you notice this year, somewhere around March, we're about 1.56. We're now at about 1.63. That's both oil and condensate. By the end of the year, we're hoping to have clocked up to 1.9.
And what is the average cost of crude production?
Wow, good one. The cost of crude production, there's a capital cost and there are the operating costs. The operating cost right now in Nigeria is hovering over $20 per barrel, which is quite high. Mm-hmm. Part of that is because of the investment we've had to make in terms of security of our pipelines, which, as you know, today we have 100% availability of our pipelines. That has led, that came out of significant investments. So we believe with time, with stability, that cost will start going down. But for now, it's somewhere between $25 and $30.
And obviously, that is still a big focus for investors, the security of those pipelines. What reassurances can you give about this security?
Yeah, I think I can give a lot of assurances. Where we are has come a long way. It wasn't a quick fix. It took several years to get the government policies aligned. We've gotten now the government security agencies also working with local surveillance groups who are from the communities, providing sustainability by providing jobs for the community. So I think what we have now is a bit more sustainable. In the past, it was all around, the use of policing, right? And it's very clear that policing alone was not going to work. We needed to create a sustainable means of livelihood and interdependency to the community. So my confidence is built on the premise that today's security situation is driven by the communities, far more than what we had before. So I'm quite optimistic that...
And you've talked recently about rehabilitating some of the oil refineries. How is that going? Give us an update on the progress.
So our refineries, we made quite a lot of investment over the last several years and brought in a lot of technologies. We've been challenged. Some of those technologies have not worked as we expected so far. But also, as you know, when you're refining a very old refinery that has been abandoned for some time, what we're finding is that becoming a little bit more complicated. So we're reviewing all our refinery strategies now. We hope before the end of the year, we'll be able to conclude that review. That review may need to lead to us doing things slightly differently.
Yeah. Could it lead to the sale of some of these refineries? Might you look to sell some of them?
I can't say that now, but what we're saying is that sale is not out of the question. Well, all the options are on the table, to be frank, but that decision will be based on the outcome of the reviews we're doing now.
Okay. Let me ask you about Dangote specifically, minority shareholder. But are you happy with the situation where almost half of the feedstock that goes into the refinery is coming from the U.S. as opposed to Nigerian crude?
Well, first of all, Dangote Refinery is a commercial investment, and I think it's very important to keep that in mind. It's a commercial decision. It wasn't a national investment. So the refinery has the flexibility to be able to import crude for its survival, and also have the flexibility to ensure that it goes out. I think if you look at it commercially, yeah, we will have to do more to ensure that there is a balance in terms of, the crude coming in from Nigerian crude. We're working on that. We think that will improve. But what we want to do is that we want to move away from government-dominated or domination on private sector businesses, right? We want the businesses, private sector, to have the freedom, and that's what the Nigerian government has been working on, to invest and do as they think. So if Nigeria is going to provide more supplies to Dangote Refinery, it will be on a commercially willing buyer, willing seller basis, not because it's a policy, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I want to broaden out and actually ask you about a call that you and your colleague from the ministry made at the OPEC seminar the last couple of days, specifically saying that the global north is weaponizing financing against Africa. You're calling for a change in attitude so that more global north investment actually gets channeled into the continent. Number one, why do you think it's been happening? And how do you change people's perception of the investment opportunity in the continent?
Right. The history is clear. I mean, if you look at most of developing countries, including Africa, quite a number of products, whether it's gas or oil, is exported predominantly into the global north as well. These days, there's been more diversification. So you can understand that the original business model was that we produce and this goes there. Now, with the energy transition and the pressure on energy transition, if you look at the histories of demand, the global north in terms of energy supplies and energy availability and energy poverty is very robust, far robust. Whereas the global south, there's still huge scope for development.
Yeah.
In Africa alone, more than 6 million people do not have access to any form of good energy. Also, to keep in note that in other parts of Africa, women and children who are using less high emission like wood or charcoal, have major health problems. If you look at the World Health Organization, quite a number of mortalities are related to this. So this is very fundamental. My view is that because of that, the investment dependencies, we realize that the investment has been stifled significantly for the global south. We think there should be more liberalization. We should look at the world as one system where there is that equity and that balance is what we need for sustainability. So I do support that. I think I'm not that extreme around whether this was a deliberate strategy, but I think there's a clear indication that right now from where we are, we need more equity. Also, the global south, I think more collaboration is very important because my belief is that we also need to take our destiny into our hands. We need to ensure that our people have the energy that they need. And we hope that with that collaboration and that intention to balance the world, that the global north will see the need to also collaborate.